When I was growing up, my daddy always taught us that because we were black, that meant we had to work 5 or 6 times as hard as the next person, if not harder. Where has this drive gone? If we continue to be quiet, if we continue to be lazy, then more and more of our young people will just continue to die from ignorance and stupidity. One of my favorite people in history that I love to study, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., said it best. Nothing in the world is more dangerous than sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. He also stated that the day we see truth and cease to speak is the day that we begin to die. Now, I don't know about you, but I am so sick and tired of seeing some of these little girls walking around with all of their business hanging out and nobody saying anything about it. Some of our young girls are screaming out for help, but instead of offering that, we tend to criticize, judge, and talk about them. They need to understand that they don't have to look up to Nicki Minaj, the Kardashians, or the cast of Love and Hip Hop as mentors. And trust me, I use that term very loosely. There are people right here in their neighborhood that are willing and able to help and guide them, but not enough people are stepping up to the plate to do it. If we don't start doing something now, then these generations behind us will not last very long. Y'all are way too quiet, so let's move on to another subject that just might ring close to home. In the Dallas Independent School District, the school board recently approved for 11 schools to be closed. Now, we can point fingers at the school board and at some of our lawmakers, but in the end, what really matters is who did you vote for? Oh, you didn't get that far?
Oh.
Let me guess. You only voted in the 2008 presidential election, right? Like, that's the only election that counts. Politics is local. We have got to stop being so comfortable, and every single chance we get, we must vote. I have always been passionate about voting, ever since I first learned about the civil rights movement. So I don't care if there's an issue of whether or not I have to change the money from green to purple, or if we should change our state bird from the mockingbird to a flamingo. You better believe that I am exercising my God-given right to vote. Those individuals before us that marched, died, were attacked by dogs, were drenched with water hoses, did not go through all of that so you can stay your tired behinds at home because you don't like who's running, or because it's raining on the day of the election and I just got my hair done. We need to start holding the correct people accountable and go out and vote them out if they have not changed our communities for the better. Sometimes I tend to blame some of these lazy, trifling, and content taxpayers that don't vote, that don't get involved, and don't care about their children's education until there's a word or whispers about their child's school being closed. Now you want to complain and start hollering out no justice, no peace, and have our DISD school board heads on the chopping block when you should have been doing this all along. When you don't vote, you have absolutely no voice. It's just that plain and simple. It's not enough to just get registered. You actually have to utilize that registration and go to the polls every single time. In the 2010 gubernatorial election here in Texas, only a mere 4.9 million voters registered and went out and exercised their right to vote according to the Texas Secretary of State. Now, can you guess how many actual registered voters there are here in Texas? The number is far from 4 million. There are approximately 13,269,233 registered voters within this great state. Now, this is a serious problem. A lot of us have got to actually practice what we preach. You claim you're so proud to have an educated black man in office as president, but when it's time to vote and help him out during the local elections, you don't do that. We as a people have got to stop being ignorant and learn how to educate yourselves. Take some initiative and read something other than Boston, TMZ, or the National Enquirer. Pick up a real newspaper. Turn the TV on the news for once. Stop depending on the government to do everything for you. It is my goal and mission to educate as many people as I possibly can because I can be tired no longer. Like my mother says, I am way too young for that. But what is it going to take for you to do something? I'll end it on this note. Before I attended my alma mater of Southern University and A&M College, my dad, one summer, let us watch one of my favorite Spike Lee movies, School Days. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this movie, so you should know that Lawrence Fishburne's character, Von Dunlap, or Dap, was always politically involved at his school of Mission College. Sometimes he did encounter many obstacles while attending the school. He was constantly getting into arguments with Julian, aka Dean, the Big Brother Almighty of the fictional Gamma Phi Gamma fraternity. He led several apartheid demonstrations for the students and faculty, and on top of that, his little cousin Daryl, aka Half Pint, was pledging the Gammas and had to deal with those problems as well. But none of that mattered to him or myself. The most important part to me was at the very end, when Dap had had enough with everything. He walked outside by the flagpole early one morning and screamed at the top of his lungs, "Wake up!" He continued to scream "wake up" until all of the students and faculty walked outside to join him, and then the movie ended and faded out. Then my dad would proceed to ask us, "What did you get from this movie?" Especially in the end when Dap was yelling out, "What exactly did you get from that?" To me, Dap was trying to let us know that it's time to wake up and stop being so docile. It's time to wake up and stop allowing people to control your life. It's time to wake up and start voting like so many before us have fought and died for. It's time to wake up and start educating our children about their wonderfully enriched history, because the schools are not going to do it. It's time to wake up and not just spend time praying and reading our Bibles, but actually telling others about how good God is and introducing them to Jesus if they don't know him. So like I said before, I am tired and I have had enough. I know what I have to do and what I'm going to do. But what about you? When will you finally wake up?
The camera. Why you see why I don't? I know it's nerve-wracking.